I worked the night shift at an abandoned hospital. I shouldn't have stayed until 3 a.m. If you ever get offered a night shift in a building nobody will enter after dark, don't ask why the pay is so high. Just leave. I didn't, and at 3 a.m. the hospital remembered me. I was 28, broke and desperate enough to ignore every red flag in front of me. I had lost my warehouse job 2 weeks earlier. Rent was due in 4 days. My phone kept buzzing with messages from my landlord, and my fridge had reached that sad stage where it held nothing but half a bottle of water and old ketchup. So when I found a one-night security job posted on a temp work app, I took it without thinking too hard. The location was St. Dymphna Hospital. Even I had heard of it. It sat at the edge of town, beyond a dead shopping center and a line of pine trees that blocked the moonlight like a wall. The building had been abandoned for over 20 years after a fire in the pediatric wing killed staff and patients. Since then, nobody touched it. No investors, no demolition crew, no urban explorers for long. People said the building made sounds after midnight. People said lights moved from floor to floor, even though the power had been cut years ago. People also said a lot of things when a place scared them. I needed money more than I feared ghost stories. The message told me to arrive at 10 p.m. sharp and report to the main entrance. No company name, no interview, no paperwork. Just a rate that was almost triple what any normal night shift would pay. That should have been enough to make me turn around. Instead, I drove there in the rain. The hospital was bigger than I expected. Even in the dark, it looked wrong. Not just old, not just empty, wrong. Like it had been standing too long without people inside it. The windows were black, the brick walls were stained with years of rain. Half the sign at the front had fallen off, so it only read STDYM in rusted metal letters. There was one light on above the entrance, a single yellow bulb. That was the second red flag. A man was waiting under it when I parked, tall, thin, late 50s maybe. He wore a dark overcoat even though the rain was warm. I couldn't clearly see his face. The bulb above him kept buzzing, flickering just enough to hide his eyes. "You're late," he said. I checked my phone. 9:58. "No," I said, "I'm not." He looked at the phone in my hand, then back at me. Not yet. That was the third red flag. He introduced himself as Mr. Vale. No handshake, no smile. He gave me a key ring, a flashlight, and an old security radio that looked older than I was. "The job is simple," he said. "Sit in the front security office, do 1 round every hour, first floor and second floor only." Only? His pause was small, but I noticed it. "The third floor is unstable. Don't go up there." I looked past him into the lobby. "Why is there power if the place is abandoned?" Backup line. That answer came too fast. Then he leaned a little closer and said the one thing I still hear in my sleep. "If you hear anyone ask for help after 3 a.m., do not answer." I laughed because I thought he was trying to scare me. He didn't laugh back. Then he opened the door and let me inside. The smell hit me first. Dust, damp carpet, old smoke. The lobby was frozen in time. Plastic chairs bolted to the floor, a reception desk with dead monitors, yellowed walls covered with faded health posters, a volunteer sign-up board still hanging beside a cracked vending machine. My footsteps echoed so loudly it felt like someone else was walking just behind me.
Mr. Vale showed me the security office near the front entrance. There were 6 camera monitors on the desk, all grainy and black and white. Most showed empty hallways. One showed the ambulance bay outside. One just flickered with static. There's a logbook. Mark your rounds, and if anything happens, use the radio.
To call who? He stared at me for a second too long. Me. Then he left. No car sound, no footsteps, just the front door shutting, and then nothing. I was alone. For the first hour, nothing happened. I sat in the chair, listened to rain tap the broken windows, and told myself this was easy money. I even started to feel stupid for being nervous. Empty hospitals are creepy, that was all. My brain was doing what brains do in silent places. At 11 p.m., I grabbed the flashlight and did my first round. The first floor was mostly offices, records rooms, and old exam rooms. Everything was coated in dust. There were abandoned wheelchairs against the walls. Some doors were chained shut. One room still had a Christmas decoration hanging in the corner, a silver star blackened by age. The second floor was worse. That was where the maternity ward and pediatric rooms had to be. The wallpaper changed there. Clouds, balloons, cartoon animals faded by smoke and time. I found a nurse station with cracked monitors and an overturned chair. On the wall behind it was a height chart for children. Someone had drawn a line at 4 feet tall and written the name Milo beside it in blue crayon. I froze. Milo was my nickname when I was a kid. Nobody called me that anymore. Nobody on that app knew it. I told myself it was a coincidence, a common enough name. Kids get called Milo. Still, I left that floor faster than I meant to. Back in the security office, I locked the door. At 11:37, the radio crackled. Not a voice, just static. Then, something under it. Breathing. Slow, wet, close enough that I pulled the radio away from my ear. "Hello?" I said. The static stopped. Then, in a whisper so soft I almost thought I imagined it, a voice said, "You came back." The radio died after that. I checked the battery pack. Full. I checked the front entrance. Locked. I checked my phone. No signal. At midnight, one of the camera feeds changed by itself. It was pointed at the second-floor nurse station. I hadn't touched the monitor controls. The hallway was empty, but something on the desk caught my eye. A sheet of paper, white against the dark. I leaned closer. It hadn't been there when I walked past. I stared at the screen for a full 10 seconds before I finally got up and went back upstairs. The paper was a patient chart. My hands were already shaking when I picked it up. Patient name, Miles Carter. Room 312. Miles. Not Liam. Miles. My full first name. Nobody calls me that. I don't use it unless I'm signing legal documents. I turned the page over. The paper was old and brittle. At the bottom, in smeared ink, was a date. October 14th, 2003. The night of the fire. A cold feeling moved through me so slowly it was worse than panic. Panic is hot, fast, sharp. This was different. This felt like the building had just recognized me. I went back to the office. I should have left then. I know that. I know exactly when I should have walked out, gotten in my car, and driven until sunrise. But the front doors wouldn't open. The chain lock I had never touched was wrapped around the handles from the outside. I shined my flashlight through the glass. No chain. From inside, it was there. From outside, it wasn't. That was when I radioed Mr. Vale. No answer. Only static. Then that same whisper. 3rd floor. I stepped away from the desk fast as the chair tipped over behind me. I didn't go upstairs. Not yet. Instead, I sat in the dark and watched the monitors.
At 12:24, I saw movement on camera 3. A figure at the end of a first-floor hall. Tall, still, human shape, but too dark to make out. I grabbed the flashlight and ran to the hall. Nothing. When I came back, the figure was on camera 2, a different hallway, closer to the security office. Then on camera 1, standing outside my door. I spun around. The hallway outside the office was empty. On the monitor, the figure tilted its head. And even through the grain and static, I knew what it was doing. It was looking directly at me. I don't remember deciding to run. I just remember being back in the lobby, flashlight bouncing in my hand, heart slamming against my ribs, trying the front doors again and again until my palms hurt. Behind me, somewhere deep in the building, an elevator bell rang. That hospital did not have working elevators. The bell rang a second time. Then the overhead speakers clicked on. A burst of static filled the lobby, and a calm woman's voice said, "Code Blue, room 312. Where is her son?" Her son. I felt something twist in my stomach. Not fear. Memory. Broken pieces. A woman in blue scrubs. The smell of antiseptic. Small hands clutching a stuffed rabbit by one ear. A voice saying, "Stay here, Milo. Mommy will come right back." I had not thought about that in years. Maybe ever. I started up the stairs before I understood why. The air changed on the third floor. It was warmer, thicker. It smelled like burnt plastic and medicine. My flashlight flickered once, then stayed on. The hall ahead was long and lined with patient rooms. Some doors were open, some were shut. The wallpaper here had peeled away in strips, exposing black scorch marks underneath. And yet, as I walked, I started hearing things that did not belong in an abandoned building. Monitor beeps, rubber soles squeaking on tile, muted crying, a child coughing. It was faint at first, then louder. The hall was no longer empty, not completely. Shapes moved at the edges of my vision, figures passing room to room, nurses in old uniforms, a man pushing a journey, a woman hunched over in a chair with both hands over her face. Every time I turned to look directly at them, they blurred like smoke in water. I checked the room numbers. 306, 308, 310. Then I stopped. Room 312 was at the end of the hall. The door was open. Light spilled into the corridor. Warm yellow light, like the building was alive again. I should have run. Instead, I walked in. The room looked occupied. Fresh sheets, heart monitor, IV stand, a plastic cup of water on the tray. It made no sense. Nothing in that hospital should have looked clean. But there it was, untouched by time. And on the bed sat a little stuffed rabbit, one ear torn. My throat closed. I had that rabbit when I was 6. I lost it in a fire. No, not lost. Left behind. The monitor beside the bed suddenly beeped once, then flatlined. A woman's voice came from behind me. "I told you not to move." I turned so fast my shoulder hit the wall. A nurse stood in the doorway. Her face was hidden in shadow, but I could see the outline of her cap and uniform. One hand held the doorframe, the other pointed at the space under the bed.